Okay, so how are you? Okay? Yeah, everybody? Wow, you see, if we would know the potential that we have, we would be so joyful all the time. Because again, now when we go through this and we go through these steps, it sounds as if it's something we have to get from outside. It's something that we already have. We have innate wisdom, we have innate compassion, we have innate love. It's just covered. So we know, all we have to do is kind of throwing things out. So when they say, in a way, when they say develop is a good word, because something is covered or enveloped. So we have to develop it. We have to bring it to shine. So for that, we need all these methods. And again, these methods, they have been practiced for so many thousands of years, and they have worked. So that's why they're still around also. Yeah. So, but again, to really generate this healthy self-confidence, that, yeah, I am a good person. At the base, this goodness we can never lose. No matter how covered it is, no matter how many negative actions you have done, even these beings have Buddha nature, and it can also come. It can also be uncovered. Yeah? That's what I just wanted to remind you of. Because we tend to forget. And then there's all this struggle, and think it takes a long time, and it's terrible, and it's difficult, and all this. Actually, it's not. And I think tomorrow we'll talk about emptiness of eye, or the emptiness. But as you continue to practice, you start to have, as these things start to kind of lighten up a little bit. We don't take everything so seriously anymore. And you start to have more space in your heart. And you start to have some kind of, in German, Ahnung? Huh? Okay. Some kind of hint that, there is something there that is really big. But then the thing is, that bigness is actually nothing. And that nothingness is everything. And this is what makes it really, really kind of profound, because unfortunately, there are these two levels. It's not just one linear kind of thing. There are these two levels of existence. One is that everything is just produced by our mind. It's just projected by the mind. But it functions. That's it. Samsara functions. We suffer. Even though it's just a projection by the mind. A dream functions to make you happy or unhappy, even though nothing is there. Yeah? So all we need is to wake up, to kind of follow that. How did you call it? That was very long. An idea. Yeah, it's not yet an idea. It's something that is about to come up. Some kind of a hinting. Some kind of something very, very. What is the English word for that? Something. Huh?
It's a clue.
Eh?
You have a clue.
A clue. Yeah, maybe a clue. Some kind of. Yeah, difficult. It's very subtle, but all of a sudden we start to wonder. And it's difficult to put it into words actually, but so this is what we're doing. This is what we're trying to do here, to be able to live that potential. I mean, it's such a waste. We all have like innate wisdom, love, compassion for all beings, and we don't live it because we don't even try to go and find it. Yeah, because nobody is telling us that we have that. That from the beginning we are pure, we're clear, we're okay. And what we learn is, hey, there's something wrong with you. That's what we learn. So then we kind of start from the wrong way around. Yeah? So that's just, and I still think about bodhicitta, because otherwise it becomes too, difficult, and where am I going to get that love and compassion? It's there. Do you trust that?
Yeah.
Yeah! not sure. That's not strong enough. What can you lose if you trust it? Nothing. What can you lose if you don't trust it? Everything. You know, it's like somebody comes and says, hey, there's a treasure buried in your garden. And you say, how would you know? Yeah. And then, no, it's too difficult to dig all, it's too hot outside. And and at the same time, your kids can't go to university because you don't have enough money, but you refuse to believe that there's something there. So at least you dig, even you don't find anything. Then you know, okay, there's no treasure in my garden, you can let go. Yeah. Whereas if you start applying these methods, and maybe we have to ask people who are doing that since quite a while, things change in your life. Do they or don't they? You don't have to trust me because, yeah, I'm a nun and, so. But these people who are just like you, ordinary life outside, working, being savtas, having kids, having no kids, so, Anna, what do you think? Absolutely. Absolutely. I know many people who give up the practice because something changes, or they don't have time, or they start they have children, and then you kind of lose interest. But none of them says, I'm so happy I stopped coming to the class. Nobody until now. I haven't found anybody. They say, yeah, I'm sorry, so they apologize to me. It's so funny. When I see people who haven't come for a while, they feel bad that they haven't come. I don't feel bad. I'm happy to see them. But then because they feel bad, that the encounter becomes sometimes very full of tension. In fact, you come, I'm very happy. You don't come, I see you, I'm very happy. In order for me to be happy when I see you, you don't need to come to the courses. Yeah? I'm happy to have met you and that we kind of practice together and all this, the rest. Yeah, that's fine. So please, if you stop coming to the classes or you go to another group, they feel even worse when they go to another group. I don't mind, If you find something that suits you better, by all means go there. It's perfectly okay. The main thing is that it inspires you, and the main thing that you find somewhere where you feel comfortable. That is what is important. Ooh! People who practice Dharma are they more compassionate than other people? ? Not necessarily. In reality, yeah, I have come across too many people who practice Dharma who lack this spark of compassion. It frustrates me. How should I handle the situation? Yeah, me also. I come across these people. But you don't know how they were before. I was telling you the story about this very angry nun that everybody was afraid of in Tushita, so I complained about her because I knew her, maybe she had been practicing 17 years, I think. So then I was complaining to somebody, and then they said, wow, you should have known her before. What she's doing now, she's softened up so much. But since I didn't know her, so for me it was like, yeah, so that's what I mean. So how should you handle this? Like that. It's then again, do you think there are Dharma practitioners who on purpose are not compassionate? If you think that, then of course then it becomes difficult. But it's nobody like this. We all try. And if you know from your own experience how difficult it is, then you think, okay. You can think, okay, I'm more advanced than them. Maybe. But if they make you angry and frustrated, you're not advanced at all. And this is why you get frustrated, because they show you where you're standing with your practice. Zero tolerance. All the others, they should be perfect bodhisattvas so I can feel at ease. They should do what I want them to do. So I was doing the same thing. We had a big conflict amongst nuns at Tushita, just in case, you have ideas that all the monks and nuns are living in harmony. It's not like that. I was really frustrated about these two, and she was one of them, this other one. I was really frustrated about these two because in my eyes they were behaving in a really, really negative way. They wanted to push out the director because they didn't like him. And so they came to ask for my support, and I did not support them because I was the only one who was doing courses. Those two, they were just doing their own practices. So I said, no, I'm not going to support you because then what will happen? I will have to do his job also. So no, thank you very much. They got so angry at me. And they started like almost vomiting on, like what this director is doing and this and that and that. And I had the misfortune to tell them, look, I feel physically sick now listening to you. And then I started to be really angry at them. I wanted to disrobe because I thought, I don't want to belong to that club. Thank you very much. So then I went, stomped down to my teacher, which I was lucky enough, he's living like half an hour away, and I had always access to. So I said, I want to become a normal person again, because look at those. I mean, they're claiming to be compassionate and what they're doing is horrible. So then he said, I don't know, just think about the benefit of keeping vows. That's all he said. So I went back up, boom, boom, boom. I went to my room and I sat on my anger. And then all of a sudden I thought, I'm doing exactly the same thing as they do. They are angry because the director is not like they think he should be. I am angry because they are not like none should be. So I'm doing the same thing. So I'm still a nun. Because also, I think I had been a nun. It was when my brother died. So I had already been a nun maybe 6 years. So then also I thought, look, what else would I do? Kind of, not because I have nothing else to do, but there's nothing that seemed to be attractive in such a way. So yeah, there are Dharma practitioners who we think they pretend to be compassionate. They're trying to be compassionate, but they're not. So what do? Do we tell them that? Huh? What do you think? You know what usually happens? We wait for the teachers to tell them. We are hoping that finally the teacher will tell them to kind of really pull themselves together. And then what happens? They are especially kind to them. The teachers are like a good doctor. A good doctor, you're not spending time with your patients that are healthy. You're spending time with the patients that are sick. So, if a teacher pays a lot of attention to you, it might not be a good sign. We never know. Yeah, we never know. But, the teacher gives you instructions and then you have to figure out what you do with them. They hardly give you like really personal kind of psychological advice or something like that. They just give you the methods and then you have to figure it out. It's funny that it just goes with what I just said. If you had the choice, would you choose the same path and become a nun? Again, yeah, of course. No question. Absolutely no question. Is that helpful? Is that satisfying? Whoever asked that question, what more do you want to know? I mean, is that enough when I say yes? Since there is no response, I think yes. How can I generate a good karma for things that I have done in previous lives, which I am not aware of them? No, you cannot. Negative imprints, you cannot change them into positive ones. But you can purify them so that they don't bring a result. I don't know if that answers the question, but it's like you don't need to exchange them. Karma done is done. That's it. The seed is there. But you can do something with the seed, purifying it, taking vows, making these purification practices that we did last night. That's what you can do. And then as long as they haven't ripened yet, they will not ripen in the future also. But you need to stay at it. You need to continuously do it. Then that happens. And you don't need to be aware of what you've done. You don't need to remember what you say when you do confession, because we do confession. What you say is, whatever negative actions I've done, now in all my previous lives, I recognize that they are not skillful, they are not helpful, so I do regret. Now again, that can just be blah blah blah. Or it can be really genuine. That depends on you and nobody else. You see, if even all the Dharma practitioners around you, they're kind of faking to be compassionate, it doesn't affect your compassion. You can still be compassionate. Also, if everybody around you is very compassionate, it doesn't really help you that much to be compassionate. You just have less causes to become angry. That's all. Yeah. But it's, you know, we don't have to wait for everybody to be a good example and to do what we want them to do in order to start practicing. As I said, the practice is kind of to be taken like a mirror. Yeah.
If there's a specific behavior or something that keeps coming back in my life, can I do a vow to, and like give myself to this thing? Like the vow would be specifically to undo some karma that keeps coming back?
Yeah. Yeah. And it will especially help you to cut these habitual tendencies. But don't take, if it's something that is difficult, now I'm talking just generally, yeah, I don't know what it is, and that goes for everybody. If something that is really difficult for you to abstain from, don't take a vow for the rest of my life. Take it for 1 minute. So that you can keep the vow. Yeah? Take it for 10 minutes, an hour, or 1 day, or something like that.
But I need to purify a specific thing. Possible?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Can you give an example, like, and the last thing is...
Like what, you have to give me an example first, what you want to purify.
So you can give me an example.
Just invent something.
There is also techniques.
Huh?
Some teachers teach some techniques
Yeah, yeah.
to bear negative
For
karma.
example, yeah. For example, we have a practice which is called, thank you for the burning, which is called Doji Kadro. It's quite fun actually, because you visualize all the negativities that you have created, and then on top of it you take all the negativities of the world, you breathe it in into your heart. It sits here like something really heavy and really black. And then you use Tantra again, you use energies. So you think there's fire at your feet, then there's wind coming and kind of it pushes the fire up, and then through that the negativities come out of your nose. And then you have a plate where you have black sesame seeds, and you form them into a scorpion, and you make a fire, and then very consciously you take very little sesame seeds and you go, now I am burning this, now I am burning this, now I'm burning this. Because all our negative imprints are just also not existing from their own sides. So that's why they can be destroyed like this if you have a good understanding of emptiness. Yeah, so that is one of the techniques. Yeah. Or you can counterbalance. For example, I have friends of mine who have like problems with spending money, going shopping all the time and buying lots of things that they don't need. So one thing was they formed a group, like a support group. So whenever somebody bought something unnecessary, they had to inform the other three, so that you had to confess immediately. So then you get fed up with this. Yeah. But another practice would be, whatever you buy for yourself, the same amount of money, you give it to some organization who is beneficial. Doesn't matter which one. Yeah. So you make a counterbalance. You know, being very spending just for me, but then also spending like for others. So you create the joy of giving, and also that counterbalances what you do. And then after a while you stop spending so much money, because if you have to spend double, then it becomes really expensive. Yeah? Is that okay? What is the practice to keep vows in our daily life? What is the ritual, prayers? Usually, let's say, if a teacher comes who gives refuge, because there is a refuge ceremony where you consciously say, from now on I want to become a Buddhist. And it's a very serious decision, because going back on that decision creates a lot of conflict in your mind. Yeah? So basically when you take refuge, it's not something for 2 weeks or for 2 years. It's, you say, until I'm liberated, if you're on the Hinayana path, on the Theravadian path, or until I'm fully enlightened, if it's on the Mahayana path. So there are teachers who give refuge. I'm not one of them, because my teacher has to give me the permission to give refuge. Now, he's dead and I never asked, and I'm actually quite happy because it's a big responsibility. Because it's not that they become your kind of personal disciples, but still you create a very strong link, and I don't feel I have enough qualities to do that. So, but when they give initiation, for example, Gachin Rinpoche is going to come, for example, and if you're coming to the teachings, sometimes one can ask the translator or the attendant and say, I would like to take vows. Would Rinpoche please give me these vows? Sometimes they say, no time. Anyway, when he gives refuge in the initiation, you just think in your head, from now on, I'm taking this, and this vow. This would be. Now, nobody coming, you can still take vows. You have either you visualize the Buddha, or you have a Buddha statue, you make 3 prostrations, as we did this morning. You make 3 prostrations, you do the preparatory practices, taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, preparing the ground, filling with offerings, the mandala, the whole thing, and then you say, from now on, I take the vow of not killing, or not stealing, or no sexual misconduct, or no intoxicants. These are the 5 lay vows. Now, of course, if you have problems with other things that you would like to let go and abandon, you say, I promise that from now on until I will not do this. Actually, sometimes it's quite helpful to tell that a living person, somebody who hears you, because then you have much more strength to kind of resist what is called Shempa. Shempa is an energy in us that makes us reach for something that is not helpful, and we can't hold back. Yeah? So it goes with the karma, goes into intention. It's called Shempa. I don't think there is it's kind of an urge, an unconscious urge to say the word, or to take whatever is not given, or, And Pema Chodron, she kind of describes it with the fish and the hook and the worm. So whenever we do a negative action, it creates, already now it doesn't create so much happiness, and definitely not for the other one. And when your mind is calm again, you don't feel happy about having done it. It's only while you're still agitated and the delusion is still there that you're happy. Whoa, I won, or I cheated, and nobody found out. Very soon, when the mind becomes calm again, you feel bad about it. But that's not really what is meant. But an imprint is created, again, with the karma thing, that the same thing, if not maybe bigger, will happen to you, and you have created a habit. So it's like being a fish and seeing the worm, and actually the fish knowing that there is a hook inside, but cannot resist of biting. This urge to go there and to bite, even knowing that there's a hook, even knowing that I create negative seeds or negative potential, that is called Shempa. So where is your awareness coming into the plane here? Yeah? Is the awareness of seeing when the urge arises before you reach out, before you bite the hook. Because whenever you bite the hook, you have created a new imprint. Then, of course, if you're aware and if you're conscious, you can immediately purify it with regret, doing an action, taking refuge, making strong determination, next time I'm not going to bite. You will bite again, and again, and again, and again. This is samsara. Habits, habitual tendencies. So this is why our awareness is to be there, very, very sharp and very clear. And also when we talk about awareness, it's also an awareness about knowing reality, that this other person doesn't exist from its own side, I don't exist from my own side, whatever I'm doing is not existing from its own side. We're all kind of linked together, because if I don't have an other, I don't have an I. if I don't have an eye and another, I don't have an action. So this is, we see how everything is linked together. So this is the kind of awareness that one is talking about. Not just, I know I'm lifting my hand, I know my hand is going down. Not just that. But really knowing what is going on in the mind, and then having the attention, the conscious, sometimes called consciousness, to be able to adjust. That's another mental factor. One factor sees it, and the other one adjusts. So like that. How can one know where is the line between self-cherishing or taking care of oneself? How to distinguish between being victor or abused while letting the victory to others? Okay.
Can you repeat?
Okay. How can one know that now the action that I'm about to do is self-cherishing? Most of what we do is self-cherishing. That's very easy to know at the moment. Or taking care of oneself. We take care of oneself, why? Out of self-cherishing. If you really have the thought behind, I want to practice Dharma, I want to look after my children, this is why I'm taking care of myself, then it's not self-cherishing. But all our care for ourselves is most of the time self-cherishing. The whole thing with the children, it comes in kind of unconsciously. It changes if it's very conscious and very honest. Again, that can just be blah, blah, blah. I want to be happy. Why? If you go in the street with a microphone and you ask people, do you want to be happy? Everybody would say yes. You ask them why, they go, oh. If you say, yeah, I want to be happy, why? Because as the lady said in the corner there, I forgot your name. What is your name? Huh? Sarit. Yeah. I only hear in one ear, and that one is also kind of slowly going. Sarit. You said, like, when we're happy, we're making other people happy. If that is the purpose, to be happy, really, honestly, then looking for happiness has a purpose. Just looking for the happiness of one, if that is not being selfish, like there's so many other people around you that you can be happy, and we're so obsessed with making that one happy. No wonder that we have such low self-esteem sometimes. Because if we would be able to take ourselves out, and here we see me, I, and here the rest of the beings, and how much interest goes into that me, I, and how little goes into all these others. So it's no wonder that sometimes we know that we're doing something wrong deep down. Yeah? But again, it's like sometimes also the question could be, when am I practicing patience, and when am I going to get up and do something about this? Okay, I can give you the example of the noise from the air conditioner. So the first few courses we had, I heard it. I had no aversion towards it. I didn't like it, but there was no tension here when it went on again. Then 2 nights ago, I started to really be averse to it. So then I thought, okay, what shall I do? Shall I go and sleep in the Gompa? So I had already asked Gidi, who has the key for the Gompa? Because I was prepared to think, okay, I let them have their air condition, and then I also need to sleep, so I go sleep in the Gompa. This is why I asked you, who has the key? And I wouldn't have been, stomping to the Gompa very angry because they don't shut off their air condition, because I didn't tell them that it's disturbing me. Then in the morning I thought, how are they going to feel if they find out that I slept in the Gompa? How would you have felt?
Happy! Well, I have the key of the Gompa, so...
I know you have the key.
So it can't happen.
Why not? I would have asked you for the key. I would have lied maybe in order not to make you feel bad. I would have said, I want to go and do some practices. Can I please have the key? Huh?
You would come to spy.
I don't think so. You would have.